Good morning, all. Today we are here for a press conference to announce a lawsuit against Central Arizona Project, and I'm going to let a couple of people talk, including the chairman of the Hopi Nation, John Shadegg, former Congressman, here from Polsinelli, the law firm that is filing the lawsuit. So one of the law firms filing the lawsuit. So I'm going to kick this off. I'm going to give it to chairman of the Hopi Tribe, Timothy Nuvangyaoma, and let him speak for a few minutes.
Thank you for the introduction. Appreciate that. Oui, lo mata long vai koko masusu mi afian piu tawak today pa na piu hala ia piu yan umumi piteka. So thank you for the introduction, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for convening here for this announcement. Before I get started, I do want to recognize some of our Hopi delegation that flew down for this announcement. We have former chairman and councilman Leroy Shingoitiwa. We have Councilman Andrews here with us. We have Councilman Kivetma here with us. We have Councilwoman Honani here with us as well. And Councilman Uvela in the back right here. So they are our tribal council who's in attendance here with us as well. For 50 years, Hopi and Navajo coal has powered the pumps of the Central Arizona Project, bringing Colorado River water into Arizona. Hopi agreed to give our natural resources to the Navajo Generating Station and the Central Arizona Project, and to give our workers for the well-being and prosperity of the people of Arizona. In return, my people were promised a long and reliable partnership with all that makes up the Central Arizona Project. Our elders remember these deliberations. The Hopi Tribe allowed the development of a mine on our sovereign lands based on assurances that we would receive sustaining revenues for the 70-year useful life of the plants. The promises made, however, are not being kept. Today, the Hopi Tribe takes an unprecedented step to reaffirm our promise and our commitment to powering the Central Arizona Project and to protect our partnership, our people, our revenues, and our economy. Together with the United Mine Workers and Peabody Western Coal Company, I am here to announce the filing of a federal lawsuit to confirm the Central Arizona Project's obligation to purchase power from the Navajo Generating Station. Congress authorized the construction, operation, and maintenance of the Central Arizona Project by statute. And we are asking the U.S. District Court for the District of Arizona to affirm that the CAP Board is obligated by those statutes to purchase its power from the Navajo Generating Station. Based on correspondence, we understand that some at CAP believe it has no legal obligation to purchase power from the Navajo Generating Station, and that the Board of CAP is moving ahead with requests for proposals to purchase alternative power sources. These actions are unlawful and will hamper the progress being made to secure new owners for the Navajo Generating Station. Keeping open the Navajo Generating Station and Kayenta Mine is vital for our communities. The Navajo Generating Station and the Kayenta Mine directly employ workers, nearly all Native American, and revenue from the mine is responsible for approximately 350 Hopi government jobs. NGS-related revenues account for approximately 85% of the Hopi Tribe's operating revenue. Critical services to our own people will be severely impacted if NGS is prematurely shut down. We are not asking for a handout, but the Hopi Tribe is deeply concerned about the devastating impact a premature shutdown of the Navajo generating station will have on our people. Many Hopi will be forced deeper into poverty if the plant shuts down. The societal impact on our families and our way of life cannot be understated. We filed the lawsuit to reaffirm the deal that was struck decades ago to ask that the promise made to our people be kept. While we know that there are challenges ahead, we believe they can be overcome and NGS will remain open. The silver lining to these dark clouds is a continued momentum toward the sale of NGS to new owners. Thank you for the opportunity to present this view of Hopi. I'll go ahead and turn the mic over to Phil Russell, the United Mine Workers International Representative for the Navajo Nation. Phil?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the introduction. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Phil Russell. I am currently the District Rep, District 22 for the United Mine Workers of America. And today, the United Mine Workers of America represent 100,000 workers nationally. We are proud to stand with the Hopi Tribe and Peabody to protect jobs, tribal families, and the economic strength that is created by the Kayenta Mine and the Navajo Generating Station. We have a simple message for the board of the Central Arizona Project. Fulfill your obligation. Follow the law. Be part of the solution to keep the plant operating well into the future. We demand that the board set aside proposals for power purchase agreements and come to the table in support of the continued operation of the Navajo Generating Station. The United Mine Workers of America have had a presence on tribal lands in Arizona for the better part of a century. These workers, primarily tribal members, are the reason why Arizona families enjoy their lifestyle in the desert. We have always met our obligation. We expect others to do the same. Every time you flip a switch, enjoy a round of golf on the green, or water your lawn, you can trace the benefit back to the workers who made it happen, the United Mine Workers. For decades, the United Mine Workers have been stewards of the land and its resources, creating the energy that moves water across the state that has been crucial to Arizona's growth and prosperity. Kayenta Mine delivers a powerful economic impact, injecting nearly $440 million each year in direct and indirect economic benefits for regional economies. At the same time, the mine and the power plant support 825 direct jobs, thousands of support jobs, and over 350,000 tribal people. At Kayenta Mine, 99% of the represented workers are Native American. These are good family wage jobs with salaries and benefits that are hard to come by. The typical miner earns over 10 times the per capita income of the Navajo Nation. I am told it is not uncommon for the mine to receive 150 to 200 applications for a single welder's position. Without these job, workers and families will be forced to move away from the reservation and will face tremendous hardship. Our president, Cecil Roberts, captures it best, and I quote, "The real injustice is that traditional working families and tribal people who have offered their land and resources for the benefit of the entire state stand to lose the most if NGS is forced into early closure. The CAP must fulfill its obligation to tribal people and comply with the law. The United Mine Workers will continue our principal fight to keep NGS online long-term and protect the rights for our workers and their families and the benefits for the state and the region. The CAP board cannot be led astray by staff that has failed to properly consider the legal and social implications of its decisions. We believe the plant will be sold. Taking power from NGS and supporting the ownership transition to keep the plant operating is a win-win-win. The Hopi retains sustaining revenues and economic strength. The CAP continues to receive low-cost power if it needs to serve water users. And the mine and the power plant workers keep their jobs and livelihood for their immediate and extended families. Let's work together and support the sale of the plant to new owners. Let's preserve these enormous benefits for workers, families, and communities. Thank you, and I'd like to turn this discussion over to Marie Justice, the President of the United Mine Workers, Local 1924. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Marie Justice. Sinajinin shton kiani bashichi bipetone dashichedo na kaidene dashinale but astanenshle. This is my Navajo introduction with my clan. I come before you as the President of the United Mine Workers, Local 1924, representing mostly Native American coal miners, their families, extended families, and the many tribally owned businesses that provide support services and rely on purchasing power generated by the Kayenta Mine and Navajo Generating Station. Mine and power plant workers are the backbone of the supply system for Arizona's energy and water for millions across the state who rely on access to water. Working at the mine and power plant offered Diné a way to remain on lands our families have used for generations. If these operations shut down a quarter century before Congress intended, the impact will be devastating. As you're aware, the Kayenta Mine has provided fuel for the Navajo Generating Station nearly 45 years. The mine and power plant support 825 direct jobs, thousands of support jobs, and serve as a powerful economic anchor for the region. Kayenta Mine generated $440 million in direct and indirect economic benefits last year. These dollars flow through our communities, supporting basics like schools, government, health clinics, fire, and police. Employees at these entities rely on funding from the mine and power plant. We often quantify the economic benefits of the Navajo Generating Station only in dollars and cents. I submit that the deeper issue is about the traditional working family and the work they do to benefit tribal people and families across Arizona. Tribal families clearly have the most to lose if the plant is forced to shut down decades before Congress intended. Every family across our reservation will feel the impact. Plus, we must recognize that many workers support their immediate and extended families with these jobs. For Navajo, this represents our children, our grandchildren, grandparents, aunts, and uncles. If these jobs go away, the impact to family is far more severe than most imagine. Many families will be torn apart. I worry most about the children. Families will be totally disrupted, with one or more parents forced to travel away from homes to find employment to support the lives they've grown accustomed to sustaining. And I've seen this firsthand. Before coming to work at Kayenta Mine, I worked at the Black Mesa Mine. The mine fueled the Mojave Generating Station, which was targeted by NGOs for closure and was shut down in 2005. Many long-term workers were forced to retire. Others left their families to find work as far away as Virginia. My husband and I both lost our jobs. As they were running their campaigns to destroy the jobs at Black Mesa, the NGOs made lots of promises about new jobs, new sources of income, but none of those came to pass. It was just another example of empty words from those who do not care about our family's ability to survive. For all the discussion about a transitional economy, it's not a single job was created by the NGOs who had worked so hard to shut it down. We cannot allow the past to become prologue. Kayenta Mine supports 345 workers, and about 99% of our represented workforce is Native American. These are skilled, good-paying jobs that are hard to come by. As Native American families, we want the American dream, but it's about to be taken away from us. We had agreed with the federal government to run the plant for 70 years, life commitment. These commitments must be fulfilled. As long as NGS operates, the CAP board has a legal obligations to purchase all of its power from the plant. CAP also has a moral obligation to our people to fulfill the terms of original agreements and to support the transition of the plant to new owners. Hundreds of thousands of Diné and Hopi are counting on the CAP board to do the right thing, just as millions have counted on us to do the right thing. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is John Shadegg, and I want to thank you all for being here. I appreciate your attendance and think this is a very important topic. Before I start my remarks, I want to say a couple of things. Number one, I have a written statement which you are welcome to a copy of, but which I will not read. I will spare you from that. But second, I'd like you to take just a moment and to look around this patio at the lush green vegetation going up, for example, that set of stairs, or behind us or on the side. That's not there by accident. It's there by design. It's there because the founding fathers of Arizona understood the importance of water to this valley. And they didn't just understand it, they did something about it. To understand the lawsuit that was filed today, you have to understand a little bit about Navajo Generating Station. Navajo Generating Station is different than any other power plant in the nation. Indeed, it's different than any other coal plant in the nation, many of which are facing closure by their public utility or private utility owners. Unlike any of those, Navajo Generating Station, as has been mentioned, was authorized by an act of Congress and built under the supervision of the Secretary of the Interior. The laws that govern it include the Basin Project Act, the Hoover Dam Act, and most recently the Arizona Water Settlement Act. All of those laws impose requirements on NGS and on the power that is produced there and the revenues from that power. 1/4 of the plant is controlled by and essentially belongs to the Bureau of Reclamation on behalf of the Secretary of Interior. The plant was built not because a utility like SRP or APS decided one day it wanted to have a power plant, perhaps like Palo Verde Power Plant. Instead, it was built because Congress responded to a request from Arizona, a desperate request from Arizona, asking the federal government to put up the money to build the power plant and the canals which constitute the Central Arizona Project. Indeed, Arizona was desperate. And after a long period of discussion and what you might call congressional haggling and back and forth amongst the basin states, all of the basin states, Congress agreed to build the CAP and to operate it. And Arizona was understood to be going to take the power and to use that power to run the CAP pumps. And in a fascinating fashion, the government built a larger power plant than was needed for the CAP pumps. That excess is the key to this lawsuit that was filed today. That excess will continue as long as the plant operates, and by law, that the Secretary of Interior must maximize that excess power, sell it, and repay the debt. For a long time, that happened, and the debt was being repaid. Then the law was amended, and the government agreed that not only were the proceeds from the sale of the excess to repay the debt, They were also to fund future water rights settlements with other tribes in the state of Arizona. But now, the CAWCD, which is the state of Arizona entity charged with repaying the debt and operating the canal under a contract with the Department of the Interior, says it wants to back out of the deal. It no longer likes the agreement. It says it wants to buy power from other sources than Navajo Generating Station, even though, or even if, the plant continues to run. That is, if there are new buyers who step in place of the current owners of the corporate portion of the plant, CAWCD wants to buy its power from some other source. And it says it wants to do that even though it still owes over $1 billion on the plant. What CAW says is that there was no deal and that it is not bound. And it's right now in the process, as you know, of issuing an RFP and of responding to that RFP and doing exactly what it wants. No longer taking or paying for NGS Power, but instead buying power from other sources, perhaps natural gas or others. Unfortunately, Senator Carl Hayden or Congressman John Rhodes or the Udall brothers, Morris and Stewart, aren't here today to go before the CAWCD board and tell them there was a deal. But there was, in fact, a deal. And this lawsuit is going to prove that. The law spells out what is supposed to happen. What really is happening, and what the CAWCD board is really doing, is pretty clear. It says the deal that Carl Hayden and John Rhodes and the Udalls cut in 1968 was a good deal when we benefited from it. But now, at the first hint that it might not be the best possible deal, 1 year of prices, so-called natural gas prices or market prices, lower than the prices that NGS would have produced, justify it simply walking away. What they're saying is that they no longer want to honor the deal because they want to get a better deal. And this lawsuit is intended to tell them that they're wrong, that the law that Congress passed and the deal that was struck on behalf of Arizona is spelled out in law and that their conduct violates that law. Before I conclude, I want to make one more kind of practical point that perhaps will not be resolved in the lawsuit, but is very important. Not only is what the CAWCD board doing wrong from a legal standpoint, it's wrong as a practical matter. The reality is, way back at the very beginning, the proposal by Arizona was to use hydroelectric power to fund the pumps to bring the water into central Arizona. The reason that hydroelectric was selected is because its price is incredibly stable, almost flat. When the nation and the environmental movement rejected that idea, what the parties agreed to was a coal plant. They did not consider and they did not agree to buying power on the open market. Now, why is that? Because coal has a very stable power line or stable price line, just like hydroelectric power. But natural gas and the sources that the CAWCD says it wants to use now, those prices go up and down radically. If we need water at a stable price, we cannot use electricity at an incredibly unstable price to pump that water. I'd be happy to answer your questions, but as one of the lawyers in the litigation, I'm very confident of our victory, and I'm very confident that when we win, we will save the people of Arizona from substantially higher water prices, and we'll be able to keep this little area that surrounds us and the greater area around us green, as we have been able to since the CAP was built. Thank you.
Any questions? Anybody have questions?
In the absence of a question, I want to make one more statement, which is, if you have any doubt about the history, get this book. It's called The Central Arizona Project, 1918 to 1968, written by Rich Johnson. And in the absence of Senator Hayden being able to be here, This book will answer your questions. Thank you.